You want to do video? Video is cool.
I would love to do video. If you can do video, that's perfect. That's perfect. We have
Hey,
got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. We have got Alan Boyd with us today. Alan, welcome to the big broadcast. How are you, sir?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on.
So, Alan, tell us a little bit about your background, my friend, and then we'll get into your latest project here.
Uh, I am, I'm a musician. I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So I grew up in the prairies, and I grew up in the 80s where the whole sort of punk rock scene was taking off. And we had a great band there called SNFU, and we had a great venue called Spartans. And I saw great touring bands like the Dead Kennedys and Black Flag and many others. And that just got me into music. So I wanted to be in bands and I wanted to do all that. So I took off, joined a band, went to Montreal for a little while, went to Vancouver for a bit. I lived in California for a little bit in Santa Cruz. And eventually I ended up here where I am now, which is in London. But before that, when I was in Vancouver, I started this project called MOVIELAND, which was around for a few years. Almost got signed, but didn't quite. But that's kind of what brings me to now because uh, the lawyer I had, Jonathan Simkin, who runs 604 Records, decided he wanted to put out that old music and then also an album of new music.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big program, coast to coast, border to border on iHeartRadio today. You can also find us each and every day over there at jiggyjaguar.com. So if people want to find your music, how do they do that exactly?
Well, it's on the streaming services. So you just look up Movieland. That's the name of the band. And on Bandcamp as well, which is Movieland 1990, because there was somebody else who called themselves Movieland on there. Um, and then we got some vinyl coming out soon. There's a new company that's doing this stuff over here. They're called Elastic Stage, and they print vinyl one by one. So if you order it, they'll print it.
Wow,
So the
that's
the
pretty awesome.
original recordings are out now, and the new recordings will be out soon. But yeah, you can go to Elastic Stage, look up Movieland, and you'll be able to order the vinyl.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big broadcast. So, Movie Land is back. Is that pretty much what we want to say here?
That's pretty much what it is. It was a 1990s band that was like, it was a different time back then, right? We didn't have the internet, we didn't have streaming, we didn't have all these ways that we communicate, and it was a band that was existing in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada, which was just, it felt like the end of the world out there. It was like right at the edge. And trying to get signed and trying to do something, it just didn't happen for us. But now 604 Records, the label out of Vancouver that's run by Jonathan Simkin and Chad Kroger from Nickelback. Um, Jonathan was my lawyer, and he wanted to put this music out, so he came and said, "Let's put it back again. Let's make it happen." And
That's
he
awesome.
says, I couldn't get you a deal then, but now I own a record label, so I guess I can do what I want.
So we have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here on our big program. So how does it feel to be releasing new material after a successful reissue of some of the demos?
It's pretty fun because the new material is a mix of songs that I've been working on for 30 years, as well as things that just sort of came together a week or two before I went into the studio. Um, I think it reflects kind of my musical journey through that time since we did the original Movieland recordings. It takes in some of the shoegazy sounds, but it also looks at some of the sort of rock sounds I like, the alternative rock stuff, the 60s sort of Beatley kind of birdsy stuff. So it's really a mix of all those things. And I got some fantastic musicians playing on it. Recorded it here at my studio in London, and then went back to Canada. Had people throw some tracks on there as well. Yeah, it's been amazing. And putting out new music under this name has been pretty damn cool.
That's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. Alan joins us live here on our big program. So you were part of Vancouver's early shoegaze scene. What drew you to this sound originally, and how do you see it in its evolution today?
To say it was a shoegaze scene, there were two or three bands that was kind of trying to play that kind of music against the looming shadow of the Seattle scene of the 90s, the early 90s, which was pretty powerful. So we had this great venue there called the Commodore Ballroom. And we'd get these bands that were touring over from the UK. So we got a chance to have a flavor of bands that were coming through from, the sort of creation era days, before the Britpop stuff happened. But I saw My Bloody Valentine, I saw Slow Dive, Jesus and Mary Chain would come through. So that sound was coming to us, and we saw it as something that was a little bit different than what was coming out of Seattle. Not that we didn't like what was coming out of Seattle, it was just something else. And so from that, I think we didn't really call it shoegaze then. We really saw ourselves as a psychedelic rock band, you know? But I liked the ideas of what they were doing with that music, in that the vocals didn't have to be sitting up really high and the guitars could be really loud and there could be a lot of reverb, which was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. Alan Boyd joins us live here on our big program. So what was it like hearing your early work reintroduced to a new audience?
That was pretty amazing because we got it remastered. And, it was just starting to be put together at the time that you were allowed to take use those AI programs and take things apart, which some of the recordings, all we had were stereo masters. So we got to sort of mix out the drums and the bass, the guitars and the vocals, give them a little bit of finessing and a bit of massage, and then sent them off to an amazing mix engineer, Christian Montato, who is out of Toronto. And everything just sounded that much bigger, that much fatter, that much better. So revisiting them was pretty amazing, but making them sound bigger and better, that was much more fun.
We have got a great guest with us today. Alan Boyd joins us live here on our big program. You mentioned you were originally given a budget for this EP. At least this is what I've seen in the press release, but ended up creating a full album. What sparked that creative overflow, my friend?
I think the thing is, because I had my own studio, I could take the money that they'd agreed to pay for a few new songs and push it to get a few extra songs together so that we could make an album out of it. I think Jonathan was looking for like a 3 to 4 song EP to come together, but with the musicians I had in and the way we were working and how fast it came together, in the 2 big sort of main tracking session days, I managed to get 6 songs down. Plus I had 2 that I was working on my own. So I just thought, yeah, this is no brainer. Let's just put it together and make a record out of this. Let's make a full album. It was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun getting all those different musicians, some younger, some my age, some old mates, some new friends, and putting together something that was just, very uniquely real and very uniquely me, I thought.
Fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us here on our big program. Alan Boyd is with us. So these songs basically span 3 decades, multiple cities. How'd you go about choosing which tracks made the final cut, my friend?
There's a couple of tracks on this record that I've been playing around for quite a few years. I've been playing them sometimes with bands, sometimes just like solo. Those are songs like Save My Soul. And then there's other tracks that I'd kind of written and put aside, and I liked them, but I couldn't quite find the right people to play with. I've got another band called Little Sparta, which is much more sort of folky, with Susie Honeyman from the Mekons. But none of that music sort of fit that. So I just went back and found these tunes that I'd been working on, and I thought, from sort of over the years, I picked the ones I liked best. And then I was just noodling around with a few ideas too that I hadn't finished. And then the last one, which is the song Just a Second, came together literally in 2 minutes when I was trying a new tuning on the guitar. I just smashed it down, brought it into the studio a week later, and there it was. So it felt like a real representation of my time basically over here in the UK in London.
That's awesome. We have got Alan Boyd with us today. MOVIELAND return with Now and Then. It's a vibrant new collection of songs. It is out everywhere. It is via 604 Records. And Alan joins us today here on our big program to discuss the music and making the music and everything else. So, can you walk us through your process of recording between London, Edmonton, and Vancouver? What were the biggest challenges here, my man?
I think the thing is, I wanted to get a lot of different people to play on this record. So that was one of the big challenges, including the original bass player, John, who puts down bass on Crocodile, and the one of the original drummers, Clancy, who puts down drums on Crocodile and We're There. So some of it was remote sessions where I would send session tracks out and have them put work down. But others, these days you're not traveling with huge racks of 2-inch tape. You've got a little hard drive, you put it in your pocket, you show up at somebody's house. If as long as they got Logic and we can set up the session together, we can do it. One of the guys I got on board was Ev Leroy, who's a great Edmonton musician. He's a songwriter, he's a composer, and he had a little studio in the basement. So we went down there and I got Tom Murray, who's one of my oldest friends, to play bass. In Vancouver, what did I do in Vancouver? In Vancouver, I did a couple of things down at the 604 studio. And then there's a couple of guys here. There's a guy named Rex Roulette, who has played with Eagles of Death Metal. He came on to, he said he'd do my vocal recordings with me because I wanted somebody to help me produce those. And while we were doing that, he goes, "Hey, I've got some guitar ideas. Let me throw them down." So we did. And then my friend Freddie Cowan, who was in the Vaccines, put some guitars on as well. So it was a mix of getting together with people, getting into studios, and then sending things out to people to work remotely on. But I feel pretty good because it's got a sound of my studio on the whole thing, yet it has these performances from people from all over the world.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We have got a great guest with us today. Joins us live here on our big broadcast. So this collaboration and sound, essentially, with this, Alan. This album features contributions from all sorts of different people. How did you get some of these folks involved and make this happen?
I think one of the things about my time here in London is I have got a chance to meet a lot of cool and interesting people within the London music scene. I came over here on tour with a band called SNFU, who is an Edmonton band, and I stayed. I came to do music, and London is one of those cities that you're sort of trudging through many tracks to meet people, to find the right paths. But eventually, I worked with Freddie Cowan before he joined the Vaccines. Him and I were working on some projects together. So when he went off to do that, he got pretty busy for a few years. But once he was done, he asked me to work with him on his record. So I asked, could he work with me on my record? Rex Roulette, I got to know through the Denmark Street guitar shop scene and friends I had around there. He was off doing stuff with Eagles of Death Metal and said he'd happily contribute to my record. And then the friends in Canada who've been doing stuff forever, I've always been in touch with them. So when I asked them to be part of it, I was really lucky to just have them just jump on board and say yes. My backing band too is full of great friends. A young drummer named Jess Rollison, who I just met over the last few years. My friend Matt McGinn is playing bass on some of this. He works with Coldplay. He's the guitar roadie for Coldplay. And my really good friend Emma Chilinsky-Reed, who's a woman who I write with and play gigs with, and who I met when our kids were at school together. So yeah, it's been really fun, and just pull everybody in,
That's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live. Alan Boyd is with us here on our big program. So was there any unexpected moments or happy accidents in the studio that shaped the final sound of Now and Then?
I think one of the big surprises was working on the song Latin Quarter, which just kind of, I think, fell together. I didn't really know if it would work. I had a sort of rough sketch of a demo, sort of one verse of lyrics. And when we started playing it, it just felt pretty magical. The vibe was there, the groove was there. We put on this great percussion. This is Jess Rollison again, who just is such an amazing young drummer. She's now gigging around London, and I think she's just graduated from an amazing school here. But I think it was that sense of of the magic that happens in the studio, which I think this album is. It's a studio album, you know. It's got overdubs, it's got bits and pieces, but it's still got the magic of all the tracks have pretty much a base of a group of people working together, which is not always the case in music made today. It is easy enough to have somebody put drums down in LA and then somebody put a bass on in Stockholm in Sweden and somebody to put a guitar on in Germany and have that run around the world. But there's a real vibe when you get people in a room together, working with each other, listening to each other, working off each other. And I think we captured that. I think that's something that's the most magical about this whole record.
We have got a great guest with us today. Joins us live here on our big broadcast. So how do you balance staying true to your original sound while embracing the modern textures of today's alternative and post-punk scenes?
I guess I'd have to say that I've reached a certain age where I don't really care anymore. I don't I don't care what anybody's going to think, so I just do what I like. And there's bits and pieces of what I like today, and there's bits and pieces of what I like from back then, and I like to throw them all together into the pot and see what comes out. I think there's a way that I looked to making sounds that just made me happy. You know, I wanted to feel good about what I liked. And you know, if I had sort of a notion to do a hardcore song or something like that, I would have thrown it on as well. But these songs just all sort of been living with me over 30 years, and I think they kind of come from the heart, from many different eras of my life. Whereas the original record was that very intense period when you're a young 20-year-old, and you're making your art and you think it's the most important thing ever, and nothing ever is going to change how you feel about those things. And then when you get into your 50s, you realize, yeah, I think I can weather the storm a bit better these days.
We have got a great guest with us today. Alan Boyd is with us. He joins us live here on our big broadcast here on iHeartRadio. And the balance. How do you balance staying true to your original sound with all this? Because, like you were just talking about, give us a little bit more details on that. Dive deeper into that whole thing.
I think with the original sound, I kind of went back to using, you know, the same guitar. I have a 12-string Rickenbacker, which was like the kind of bass guitar, the main guitar, not bass as in the instrument, but the main guitar for the MOVIELAND sound. You know, I stuck to the same sort of pedals. I've been practicing a lot. And I've got my pedal board in front of me, and there's like half the stuff on there is from my original pedal selection. And I think knowing that it was MOVIELAND, I had to make a conscious decision to keep in that vein of the kind of storytelling, the thoughts, and the feelings of what being in that band was about. You know, I think I've got other bands. I've got a band called Little Sparta, which is folkier. It's more acoustic. I love playing it. I love doing stuff with it, but it's a different sound. And I think you learn that you have these monikers, these names, these entities that are bands that have to live within a sonic sphere to survive, to be who they are. And if you're doing, you know, if I was doing loop music or something like that, that wouldn't be MOVIELAND. So it's got to have the 12-string Rickenbacker. It's got to have big reverbs. It's got to have noisy guitars. It's got to have stupid solos that I don't know how I'm ever going to play them again. It's got to have all those elements. But I also managed to refine it a little bit, you know? The Beatles did it in like 10 years. It only took me 30.
That's awesome. We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live here in our broadcast. So, is there a tour on the horizon or any plans to bring MOVIELAND back to more stages across Canada and beyond?
I have played a couple of shows in Canada. I played a couple of shows here in London, mostly solo. One with a band back in Edmonton in my hometown. I had a couple of hometown shows, which were really fun. I'm actually talking to a guy here in London who can possibly book shows, a tour of Scandinavia. So there is
That's awesome.
a possibility that MOVIELAND
Scandinavia, baby.
is off to take on Norway and Sweden and all those places. And yeah, if I can get the band together and get out there and, you know, get some gigs. But But it's not the easiest time for any touring band right now. Uh, Everybody is finding it difficult to get the money to go on tours. There's great artists who do very, very well who can't afford to go out and do shows themselves. So, putting a band together and getting it on the road, I'm trying, man. I'm trying, but let's see what happens.
We have got a great guest with us today. Alan Boyd is with us. So, talk to us a little bit about the vinyl, cassette, or streaming. What is your go-to format these days?
I have to say, I love my records, and I still do buy records. I mostly try to buy my vinyl from seeing a band live to help both support the band on tour and to get that artifact, sometimes get it signed, meet the band, make it something special. And it's something that I actually have learned. I've got a few good pieces in there, and as my son, who's grown up now, looks through my collection, he asks me, "Where the hell did you get this? How do you have this album? Why do you know this? You know what this is worth?" That's what it always comes down to.
Do you know what this is worth? That's awesome.
And so my record collection's pretty special. I like the cassette thing. I know a lot of people are into the cassettes. I had a car with a cassette player until a few years ago, so that was always fun to be able to do it. Don't anymore. I actually do have a soft spot for CDs as well. And I think, the problem that we face in the world right now because of streaming and loss of revenue is putting a lot of people back to looking at buying music on some sort of physical format. It means you kind of have to refine your tastes a little bit. It means there's people going out to secondhand stores and finding gems that will cost them nothing that they end up owning, because streaming, as convenient as it is, as amazing as it is for the accessibility to everything everywhere all at once, it's a format that I think can't necessarily survive the way it survives now, because artists won't survive the way it survives now.
We have got a great guest with us today. He joins us live. So I guess final bonus question, which is kind of a weird one. What is your favorite basement you've ever written a song in?
I actually that's a great one, man. I spent a lot of time playing in basements with bands. I had two great houses that we lived in Edmonton in Canada in the late 80s that were chaotic and so much fun, and we did a lot of good songwriting down there. There was a basement in Nottingham where I wrote a bunch of songs, and I actually wrote that song Save My Soul in that basement. It was when I was
awesome.
living there and working with some bands. I had a band called Solid State Radio, some guys up there, and there's some great memories out of that. I think I'm gonna have to pick that as to being my favorite basement to write a song in, because it was a very strange
awesome.
time in my life. It was a tiny little room I had in this basement. It really wasn't meant to be a studio, but I had a drum kit slammed in there. I had a little amp. I had a little like Tascam cassette 8-track, and I managed to make demos in that basement. And I still, go back and listen to some of them and pull out little bits of gems. So yeah, the basement, I think it was 32 Campbell Grove in Nottingham.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you have been amazing. This has been so much fun. I look forward to chatting with you again. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you, sir.
I will. Thank you for your time today.
Definitely. Alan Boyd's been our guest today. Alan, have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day, sir. He even does his own pyro. It's amazing. It's amazing. Get a hold of us online over there at jiggyjaguar.com. That is JIGGYJHEUAR.com. I almost didn't know what to say at the end there. I spelled it and I was like, JIGGYJHEUAR. What the hell else do I say? .com. That's what you say. Get a hold of us online over there at jiggyjaguar.com. Lots of things happening. Lots of things happening, kids. I don't even know what the hell that even means. I don't know what it means to play us out, as Bill O'Reilly would say. So let's do this. There is a song from these guys. It's called Just a Second. Let's go to it.
This is the pink salt recipe that took me